How's your team news looking going into the weekend?
A few knocks and bruises, unfortunately. Few bit worse than knocks and bruises actually. We saw obviously Junior coming off the other evening, so turning them around in the short space is going to be difficult. Gary McDean struggled at the end of the game as well with a back, so we've got to see how he goes. So we've got a few bits. Alex Smithies was unwell the other evening, so he should be okay to travel. Gavin White was unwell, so we've got a few things, but I think most teams have at this stage of the season.
What's the matter with Junior?
Junior just tied up in his hamstring, and probably just a accumulation really of minutes, asking quite a lot of him. And just obviously the intensity that we would try to train and play at. I was aware that he was going to pick up bits and pieces. So Junior's an unfortunate one because I've been pleased with how he's been playing.
Do you think he's going to be out for a little while then? Or?
A bit early to tell. It looks very mild, so certainly not for this weekend for Ellen Road, but we'll be hopeful towards Preston next Saturday.
Glatzel, how's he getting on?
Glatzel's doing okay. Yeah, doing really well. I really like the lad. He's a really nice boy. Shown some good qualities. He's getting better all the time in training. Certainly comes into the thinking for tomorrow.
Leeds away. How big a challenge is this?
To be honest, it's probably a great one for us. I think I was quite honest with my assessment after the game, and I'm a manager that always try and protect my players and always support my players in what they do, but I'm also an honest manager as well, and I didn't think we was quite good enough for an hour the other night, and some individuals certainly didn't hit their standards. Disappointing, and it was a problem for us, but bigger picture is not a problem. They just have to get back to those standards quickly, and when you go to Ellen Road you have to hit your standards, because these are a top side. We saw last year that they were running away from the league and they just fell away at the last hurdle. This year they're there again. Shows the qualities they possess, and ultimately they've got one of the best sides and best squads in the division. So you have to deal with that. You have to deal with Ellen Road as a place and the atmosphere. As a player and a manager, it's a place I love going, and I expect to see a reaction from my players. I saw a reaction from my players in the last half hour at Brentford, but I expect to see a reaction from the first minute in this one. Yeah,
you'll be hoping what you said after the Brentford game will bring a response this weekend.
Yeah, I expect that. That'll be the message to the players. And sometimes that's what professional athletes have to do. They have to respond. And they've had a little bit of criticism from within. And probably external as well, I'd imagine. So it's down to them to respond. But we knew it was going to be a real tough period, this, and the first 4 games, 10 points was a great return, and the players and the group all came in for a lot of praise. Somewhere along the line there was always going to be a little dip. We have to make sure that the dip was the first hour, and hope and try and perform like we did in the last half an hour. There was a lot more like us in the previous games.
Leeds have won 7 in a row, I think. Do you think they'll get promoted this year? They'll get over the line?
Well, at the moment, Leeds and West Brom look like the 2 best teams. I've seen quite a bit of Fulham as well, and on their day they are exceptional. But they've been a lot less consistent. But West Brom and Leeds have been the most consistent sides. And if you look at the certainly one of the Leeds games, they lost. They're unlucky. Played the whole game virtually with 10 men. So, they've been the most consistent, and that's what makes it the best challenge. And that's why it's one I think we can all look forward to. Probably less expectation on our shoulders for this one than normal. And sometimes the players can go play with a little bit more freedom. We know they're a team that can have the ball. They can dominate possession, and Brentford dominated possession the other night against us to a certain extent. We still made a lot of passes, some in really good areas. And what was key the other night, the possession stats, passes made were identical in each other's halves. So that was pleasing for me. Brentford had a lot of passes around their own penalty area, and at Leeds you expect the same. They're going to have a lot of the ball, but it's what they do with the ball is key for them, and they've got a lot of energy and a lot of forward runs.
Marcelo Bielsa said some nice things about the impact you've made. He also says Cardiff are a very British team. What do you make of that? Is that a compliment, do you think?
I think compliment in the sense of that he's read the stats that myself and the team have made an impact in the last few weeks. British team, I think he means, way, probably identifying the team over the last few seasons, a bit more direct, a bit more up and at 'em, which I'm fine with. I like front foot football. I don't think we're quite there as a front foot team yet because we're still a little bit reactive in what we're doing, but that does take time and will take weeks and coming weeks to get better. But I think we've also shown qualities as well that we can play and that we've got good players. And yes, we're still making mistakes with the ball and we will give the ball away at times. Certainly the turnover the other night was a big problem for us. And as much as I don't want to accept it, I have to accept at the moment that we're still going to get things slightly wrong. But we're moving in the right direction. And I think saying that we're a British-based team, I think I've heard Marcelo say that quite a lot about teams in this division. Well, it's the English Championship.
Indeed. Third game of the week, second away trip. Will fatigue be a factor? And if so, do you have to make changes or think about changes?
Well, fatigue can't be an excuse. So I have to have the foresight to change certain personnel. I think there's some players that want to go again to prove themselves that they can do 3 games in a week. I have to balance off the thought process of can I put the trust in them? And I don't mean trusting them ability-wise. I mean trusting them as in physically to go again. That we protect players at the right time. Sometimes you just have to make a couple of changes just to freshen it up mentally as well as physically. And obviously the fact that we have conceded 4 goals in the last 2 games. So there's certainly a lot of thoughts into my mind. I won't be naming the team today, day before a game. I will wait till this evening or tomorrow to give myself plenty of thinking time. But there's also some players that knocking on the door and being very patient to get in the team, and rightly so had to be patient because the team's performed. I need to learn about my group. I need to learn about my players, and sometimes you need to play players to learn about them. And when we're coming up to the January transfer window, sometimes players need an opportunity to play to show me what they can do, so they can be judged.
Well, you mentioned your disappointment after Brentford. Where is it that you think you need to improve in order to try to get a result this weekend?
Well, I think against Brentford we saw an organised performance and a shape to the team that was okay. Was nowhere near where I want it to be, and pressing triggers and organised without the ball, he's getting there, but wasn't as good. I think the biggest problem against Brentford we all saw was that we gave the ball away too cheaply. Sometimes when you play against possession-based teams, you have to be organised, you have to be organised and disciplined. But then when you get the ball, you have to use it wisely. And I thought we gave the ball away far too cheaply the other night in the middle of the pitch, and ultimately it cost us the first goal. And it's not just been a problem in the last 3 weeks, it's been a problem, I think, probably for the last 6 months here. And where I'm trying to say to the players, give them a little bit more belief, a little bit more trust to make an extra pass and keep the ball. I do have to accept that we are going to give the ball away at times. If we give it away, as has been very clear with everybody, it's not about giving the ball away, it's about your reaction when you give the ball away. I thought the other night our reaction wasn't good enough on the turnover, and we have to be better.
You had a great result at Forest, didn't you? But I think you've said generally away form is an area you want to improve.
Yeah, I think that's obvious, isn't it? And I think look at the home form, and I think we're in the top 2 or 3 in the league for that. So that's been there, and we have to continue to focus on that, especially with two tough home games coming up before Christmas. But away from home, I'm not necessarily going to judge my players on going to Ellen Road and getting a result at Ellen Road, because Forest was an outstanding performance, an outstanding result. Brentford, we saw for parts of the game that there's a game plan and the players can follow it and deliver that and be a real threat going forward as well. But parts that we still need to improve, and it might be as much getting the right personnel into that game plan in certain games. Was we a little bit too open the other night with 2 wingers and Tomo possibly? So I'm learning about my players and have to learn who's the right personnel for what game as well. there's a couple of different systems I'd like to play. Not always possible in your first few weeks in charge when you play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday to implement that. So I have to be careful with too much change too quickly. I spoke on record about that as well, trying to change too much too quickly. So we'll be ready for tomorrow, physically, mentally. We'll be ready. We'll be prepared. The boys will have a game plan again, and being the lads they are, they'll want to deliver that and execute that, and that's being solid without the ball, but also better than we were the other night on the transition.
Clearly you think there's a lot of areas where you can make progress. When you look though at the points you've got so far, 2 points a game, and if there's still a lot of room for improvement, that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. With a transfer window coming up as well, that's I think it is exciting. I think that I was very honest after 4 games, after the first, second, third and fourth game, that let's not get carried away. It's only 4 games and we've had some good results. We knew there was, like I said earlier, we knew there was going to be a little bit of a dip, and we knew there was going to be an odd injury or two, and it's how quick you come away from those to get back on the pathway of success. But there is a lot of learning to be done, and the best way to learn is on the training ground. And we've had so few sessions with the players because of the amount of games that I looked at us the other night and thought we was a team that really lacked training sessions. And that's not because the players don't want to do it, or certainly because I don't want to do it, because we do, but it's just because physically you can only do so much when you go into a new club, and that'll be for us to try and build that in the new year when we've got more time. Obviously between Saturday and Saturday we've got more time as well leading into Preston, and that's key. But then games come thick and fast again over Christmas. So is it exciting? Yes, I think it can be. But in the meantime, before we get those training sessions, that we keep grinding out results and trying to change small things, small gains all the time.
And just lastly from me, news this week that the club's chief scout has moved on. Are you able to tell us anything about that? Yeah,
well, there's been a change to the scouting setup. Again, some decisions were made before I came in that I've come in and supported. I've got to be honest, come in and supported, but the club wanted a change of direction in a lot of ways, and sometimes when you have a new regime, it's an opportunity to change. So I think didn't have a chance to work with Glenn and don't know Glenn, so Glenn's gone, and we'll certainly wish him all the best moving forward because he's a football man. But a slight change now. Tim Henderson comes in as head of scouting, and some scouts have left and new ones will be coming into a newly formed department, going a lot more analytical as well. Really changes were decisions were made on changes before I came in, so I'll be honest with that. But what I want to implement, and the club fully support, is the modern day is a lot more analytical as well. We have to get with the times of scouting through watching players, definitely with a trained eye, and that's from the scouts and me and my staff, but also analytics plays a big part of it, the analysis side of it. Stats, huge in the modern game, and that's from top Premier League clubs all the way down.
In terms of recruitment, you mean?
In terms of recruitment, yeah. References on players, characteristics, what I'm going to demand as Cardiff City manager, what my fans want to see. What my fans want to see in their players, is key, that we get the right personnel to do that. How we want to play with high intensity, and we'll look at Leeds tomorrow to see a high intense team. We saw Brentford the other day. Age of players, so there's a lot to consider, and it's changing a mindset into that, and it's a starting process, of building blocks to start now, and that is exciting, and it's not something again can be achieved overnight in a transfer window. It takes time, but putting the structure in place of scouting and analysis, is key to moving forward.